What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I just wanted to go into tonight's recap, see where we were right, where we were wrong, and go into, obviously, where I think we are going forward. So we did continue. Thank you, Stone for President, too. I always appreciate when someone gives the channel a chance. I wanted to go into tonight. We did get the cover, which is nice. 9 points seemed a little steep. But keep in mind, it started at 8. When it moves to 9, even if it moves to 10, typically indicates they're trying to get people, obviously, on the Heat. So that didn't really faze me when it moved from 8 to 9. And again, to me, this was more about narrative. So the covers, it's nice that we got it. But when I look at the game, I look at the narratives. And the reason I thought Denver was going to win Game 1 is because it's pretty simple. They told us. Now you might say, well, they're always wrong. But in this case, you don't have Skip and Shannon. Well, we might have got Shannon fired. He's not a great example. But Skip and Shannon, usually passionately disagree. J.J. Redick and Perkins, Nick Wright, Broussard, and Wilds. Whoever it is, they'll Stephen A. and when he was with Max, all these guys, they'll passionately disagree. This time, nobody is disagreeing. Everybody is in unison and unanimously agreeing Denver's the better team, Denver should win, and the only chance the Heat have of winning is some kind of miracle from the basketball gods. I mean, that's an argument that was actually made. So it sounds goofy, but I actually believe more in that logic than I do the analytics because I believe it's scripted. So the fact that everybody's on Denver and everyone's, these analysts are like, yeah, even the ones that are back in the Heat, they're like, oh, yeah, well, they got Jimmy and anything's possible. Like, that's essentially their reasoning. To me, it made no sense. You're talking about all this rest, and it's Joker, okay? If this was Golden State, I could understand, because even at home, they've laid eggs. Denver has been immaculate at home, and there's no way in Game 1, when they're trying to convince everyone Miami's dead, that Miami's just going to win. Like, yeah, they could do it. I'm not saying it was impossible, but this just made way, way more sense in my opinion. And I noticed a few things in this game. So this is an 11-point game, right? And the Heat were dominated from buzzer to buzzer. So it really was worse than that. But you can see the headlines. Jokic, Murray combined for 53. Bam got 26. I think Butler, between them, they weren't that far off of Jokic and Murray. But they did not have, these guys had a clean game. Bam did too, but not Butler. So you can kind of see, like, when Jimmy's not getting, obviously it's obvious, but without Jimmy, the other guys can't come through. And I guarantee tomorrow the talking point's going to be, oh, Caleb Martin, he was a great one-hit wonder. He was Milli Vanilli, whatever they're going to call him, because he had a bad game. And they're going to say, oh, you see, Murray is a dependable teammate, whereas Jimmy doesn't have that. He doesn't have a dependable guy. Bam isn't quite there. Plus, he's not really, he can't really expand outside of the post. And, you got Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, Strus, who are all going cold. So I think, again, this is going to come down to a team that lives and dies by the threes. And this reminds me of when when Phoenix played Boston. Or not Boston, I'm sorry. I'm mixing up my teams. I've been covering so many damn teams. When Luka played Phoenix. When Dallas played Phoenix in the what was it, the semifinals last year, whatever it was very interesting because Nick Wright, once again, kind of gave it away. And this guy, even though he jokes around and he has foolish reasons, he's usually right more than they are. And I think they do it for ratings or something. They make him, like, right because maybe it's even they're telling us it's the last name. I don't know. But, he said I went over this. The basketball gods smited Chris Paul and Booker because they laughed at Luka and compared them to Theo Pinson and knocked the ball out of his hand. And when it was 3-2, Nick Wright proclaimed that the basketball gods were going to intervene and make sure Luka went insane and won. He did. We have the same thing going on here. Nick believes the basketball gods would not let Jimmy fight through all of this only to lose. And that's honestly what I believe. Now, I think the basketball gods are people and whatever they may be, but I believe with that, I align with that sentiment. I genuinely believe that they are giving Pat, Jimmy, Spo a beautiful send-off. So this game one just makes perfect sense. The elevation, they kept pushing the elevation. How the elevation, they're not going to be able to overcome that. You see in the fourth quarter, the Heat made a run. That's the plan in the seeds, that this team's not going to give up. Denver looked like just a perfect unit of. Jokic looks like a robot at this point. Like just the way he his body motions and the way he passes the ball, he's like a robot, like a Mach 5 or something. So we know he's going to be unstoppable. Now, this brings us to the next game, obviously, a very important game. And Nuggets up 1-0. Again, we thought that would happen. And now the Heat are getting even better odds. So going into game two, the narratives are going to be, you can't stop Joker. Whether you try and double team him or whether you try and just let him get his, nothing's going to work. You can't trust Jimmy's teammate. Jimmy's going to have to do it all himself. And I believe that's where one of his teammates in game two has a crazy game, whether it's Gabe Vincent, etc. Again, this reminds me a lot of the Mavericks in 2011. I know they had better players, Jet, they had an older kid, Marion, but just random guys would come through and just bury threes, and they were unstoppable. And Dirk was. And I think Butler is basically the Dirk of this year. So we go into, again, the series at whole, and we've been calling them really good up till now. I think we have a really good read on the Heat. But we're at game two now, and that's in a couple days. And from the seeds that I've seen planted, and I know there's no spread. Oh, we have a spread. Okay. So this is interesting. Same points. I guess it's not that interesting. I thought they might move it a little bit, like to 7. They did that with Boston. But, okay, they're keeping it the exact same spread. And Boston kind of did. They moved from like 8 to 7. And this one might move too. But I like the Heat. Yeah, I'll say it now. I like the Heat. I think for a few reasons. One, I have them win the series, and I genuinely don't believe if they go down 2-0. I still have them, but I think then they got to really pull some strings, do some crazy things, win 3 in a row, something of that extent. And even that would be really hard to pull off with a team like the Heat, who are very hot and cold. So I believe the Heat are going to win this game, and they're teasing a Tyler Herro comeback. I almost hope he doesn't come back. I feel like the game he comes back, they're going to get pounded. Not pounded by, not lose, but I think the public might pound them on that game. Like, oh, I got Herro back. But I expect game two a couple things. I think Bam is going to be the difference maker. Again, they already planted those seeds. Last series, he got completely dominated by Robert Williams. And while that's acceptable to be dominated by him on defense because he is a good defender, it's not acceptable for him to be dominated on offense. And as good as Joker did, you could just see Bam doing a much better job playing against Joker, at least trying, keeping plays alive, making plays at the rim tougher, getting a couple block steals, whereas he was just getting dominated by Horford and Williams. So those little things I find interesting. It seems like Bam isn't selling anymore. And again, going into next game, I think that's going to be the story. I think we're going to really start seeing the rise of Bam. I don't think it's a coincidence that Jokic got matched up against a very good up-and-coming center who people aren't too quite sure on yet. They're not sure if he's the real deal. So to me, that, the 26 and 14, whatever he put up, is just kind of planting those seeds that he's going to go off. So game two, I love the Heat. Obviously, I like the money line. I think they're going to just win the game. And again, my reasons are they just lost in game one. They looked like they were just a step behind on almost every single play. Again, Jokic looked like he went into some kind of regeneration machine and he just, never stopped playing the game. He doesn't look like he's had a day of rust. That's what I was bringing up. I knew that rust argument, it makes no sense, and they tried to push it, but of course, that wasn't the case. You're not going to have a 10-day rest period, and the team that's just been grinding for 10 days is going to have the advantage. So I'm curious what they talk about on these shows going forward. Skip and Shannon, I guess they're limited, but the other shows. And I think, again, the narrative is going to be, I can't overstate this, Joker's got a second guy. He can go to Murray. This is Murray. Oh, man, Murray's going to get it. Murray's the next, he's better than Jaylen Brown now. He's the guy. Murray's an all-star. Give him his flowers. We're going to start hearing all that about Murray. And we're going to probably hear about Caleb Martin, a lot of bad things. He was a one-hit wonder. Milli Vanilli, whatever they want to call him. He can't come through. Jimmy can't rely on him. So I think they're planning all these narratives that the Heat are just outclassed. And furthermore, they're trying to paint them as not as cohesive of a team. And I think we're going to start seeing that switch. They always talk about, coaches make adjustments and things of that nature. And I think that's what we're going to see. Game 2, Game 3, I have a feeling it's going to get feistier. And they're going to start doing different things to Joker. So they're talking about the push in 2021. That's going to come back. I guarantee it. I went over in my last video. I didn't think it would surface in Game 1. But it makes sense to me that Game 2, Game 3, probably Game 3 when they're in Miami because they can do it in front of their crowd, get really physical with Denver. But they might start planting those seeds in Game 2. So, yeah, to me, everything's going according to plan. Ever since they went up 3-0 on the Celtics, it seemed pretty obvious. And now they are positioned as complete underdogs. The Nuggets look like the most unstoppable force in quite some time. And I went over this before because I don't sleep on the international appeal of Jokic. I've told people that when they said, they're not a draw. Look at Novak Djokovic. When he took over tennis, it wasn't just Serbia. There were a lot of people in Central Europe that were just going nuts because a Serbian guy was doing good. And, you have to understand, if you're in, these countries are so small that it's like the distance from Florida and South Carolina sometimes is like Serbia and Romania or something. I'm not that good at geography. My point is, when you're out of Serbia or out of Slovenia, you're representing a lot of countries. You're not just representing that country. You've played EuroLeague, and even if you haven't, most of the Europeans are going to be behind you. So there's a lot of international appeal. That being said, Denver's been there or never been there. This is their first time going there. So this is already an accomplishment. I don't know they're just going to, Jokic doesn't need any more. On the other hand, Jimmy's in year 13. Pat and Spo have given almost everything to the business, and I think they're on their way out. So I just think it makes no sense that they don't win. So that's why, again, I think it made sense for Game 1, Miami loses, but here's where we get our value. Money line, Game 2. Love the Heat. I don't see much change in that. Now I want to go into some symbolism, because I know some people like symbolism. Right off the bat, we got Batman versus the Joker. I've went into that before. I find it very interesting. They call Kyle Lowry referred to Jimmy as Batman. And if you don't know, Kyle Lowry reminds me of Drew Holiday to Giannis. As far as Jimmy, you can just tell these two are bonded by the hip, and Lowry is way more important than people understand. He doesn't have to do certain things on the court, but he is the one dictating the pace, okay? So in this scripted league, he's going to wind up being a crucial, pivotal role, in my opinion. Another interesting, piece of symbolism. This was brought up to me. Heat melts gold. I brought that up because it was interesting because the Heat had the crypto FTX arena, and then they switched to another IoT, Kaseya or something, and they beat the Celtics, who are TD Ameritrade. They beat the bank, right? And now we got the Heat versus gold. So it is pretty interesting for the people that think it ties in with the dollar. As you know, I have the Heat because they're red and white, and that also ties in with last year was all blue and gold. So, for the newer people, that's why I don't want to be redundant to the people that have already seen this. But anyone that's new, this is the reason I like the Heat. There's many reasons, but they all just seem to fit perfectly. So, Batman versus the Joker. I wonder if they're going to start actually pitching that, maybe in Game 5 or something. If they do it too early, people might get on the Heat. Batman always beats the Joker. But yeah, nothing changed for me. To me, it made sense. Denver wins. And the reason I have the Heat winning Game 2, I don't think Heat go down 2-0. I get you want to pitch them as underdogs, but this just wouldn't make sense. What makes sense is the Heat go nuts from the three-point line. They win. They'll probably chalk it up. Jimmy will have a good game. Bam will have a good game. But I think they'll chalk it up too. Man, if the Heat are hitting those threes, if those guys, those undrafted guys, if they keep hitting those threes, then the Heat can't be stopped. And this game they didn't. And, they lost. And I went into this before, like I said, they remind me a lot of, I know it's redundant, but it just does remind me of when Luka, because Nick Wright said the basketball gods smited again, Chris Paul and Booker, when Luka just went nuts and the players started, Dinwiddie, actually he was always pretty consistent, but Bullock, Wood, Finney Smith, these guys were terrible. Then all of a sudden they just could not miss threes. Bam, 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 bam. They beat the Suns by 30 points. A massive underdog. So it happens all the time. So I like the Heat in game 2. I think we run into 8 straight games. We've been doing really good, not to be cocky, but we've been nailing every game almost to the point. With the Celtics, we got 3 in a row where we got the spread, we got the point, to finish the series, and we had the Heat winning that series. And here, I just feel like everything's going according to plan. Now, the last piece of somewhat symbolism is Tyler Herro. He's interesting because they keep showing him looking like he's ready to go to a club or something. That's one thing about these guys that are like injured but clear to play. That must infuriate fans when they're like, this guy's over here laughing on the sidelines, looking like he's one of Gladys Knight's pips, and he can't suit up for the game. So I think that tips people off about it being rigged. They're teasing him coming back in game 2. That makes no sense to me. He sits out all this time, and then I guess he already flew out there with him. To me, it makes sense to just let him stay home, play in game 3. I mean, to me, that's just common sense, but we'll see what happens there. They might change the spread if he does play. I don't think he's going to be the factor. I think Caleb Martin's going to get redemption. And I'll go more into it because I have to hear what the talking heads say. But I think Caleb Martin's going to get redemption. Jimmy's going to lead both teams in points, in my opinion. And we're going to see the Heat steal one, as they say it, on the road. 1-1 going back to Miami. So that's my prediction. I don't think I missed anything. As far as tonight, like I said, KCP, Murray, Gordon, all these different players just all coming through and making it look so easy. Bruce Brown, all these guys. And there's no way people are going to see that and now pick the Heat. They're going to see, okay, yeah, they're right. They're completely outclassed. We'll listen to the amount of times we hear the word outclassed or outmatched because they have certain trigger words that they love to use. And I believe that's going to be what they say. Oh, they were just outclassed. They did everything they could. The better team won. It's going to be a 5-game series. So we'll see what they say. But again, congratulations to everybody that tailed. We did good. If you want, I will go live for this one. I was asked to go live. I want to go live for the finals, obviously. So I don't know. Just say, screw off or yeah in the comments if you want. And you don't have to comment anything. But I'm just saying, if it's something you want, let me know. And I think it would be cool to do it because I love doing live videos. It's always awesome. We've done it like 7 times on the old channel, maybe 6 on the old channel, once on this channel, and every time it's been awesome. It really has. It's just been like just chilling in a Discord space. So I love it. I'll definitely go live. But about Herro, the one thing I forgot, they're wearing these shirts and it says White Hot Playoffs. And I find it interesting. He's a white guy. Let's call a spade. And the guy can ball. So I think it's interesting. I think they're kind of hinting, when he comes back, things might turn. And again, I'm not saying it's going to be the game he returns, but I think the entire pace and how everything, the fluidity of the game is going to change drastically when they clear him to play. So, and again, his last name's Herro. I mean, maybe I'm just reaching, but I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting too. I think these guys have stage names because that's just a really cool name. But yeah, Heat win game 2. Tie it up 1-1. That's what I think happens. And tonight was not much of a surprise. And of course, anything that I hear from the talking heads, I'll go into. But yeah, I found everything very interesting between the Nuggets, that little skull and bones hidden logo they have, the Heat melting the gold. I find that very, very interesting, and many, many more things. So again, thank you everyone. We are just doing swell. We really are, comparatively to other people in the sector that, to put it mildly, are lucky, to be in the sector. They're lucky to not have been shut down with some of the antics they've pulled. and all these different things. We've overcome all of that. We've been attacked by them. If you know, you know. And now we're at the point where we're on the verge of flipping, the Stephen A. Smiths of the world. I know that sounds a little maybe grandiose, but I'm just looking at the analytics. And the reason is, I went over this before, people aren't believing these guys. They're becoming stale. They're becoming boring. People are realizing, wow, these, not all of them, but in my case, it happens to be true. People that are saying it's rigged are way more on the target than these 30-year veteran sports anchors that had the Lakers and Celtics in there, and all these different things. And nobody had the Heat winning outside of Nick Wright, who I actually tail a lot because I think he drops a lot of cryptic clues. But yeah, I know I don't like to make these videos too long, but I also like to not miss anything, and that's why, it's hard when we have newer people coming in, people that don't really know the meaning of my channel. I genuinely think it's sports entertainment. It's legally sports entertainment. This league, it's not a competitive league by their bylaws. It's sports entertainment, no different than the WWE, which is right here, for a reason. They are the same. The only difference is wrestling. This was an awesome moment. You should watch Jimmy super kick the goatee off of Roman. That was amazing. Look at Paul Heyman selling that. And what you have in wrestling is wrestlers actually know how to sell. They can get you to suspend your disbelief. If you don't believe the NBA is rigged, I present a challenge to you. I want you to link me your most realistic NBA game of the last 3 years in the playoffs, because that's where it's ridiculous. You send me the most realistic looking basketball game, and I will link the most realistic wrestling match I've seen in the last 3 years. And we will see which one looks more realistic. That's how bad the NBA is becoming. They might as well come out and admit it at this point. I have more respect for the wrestlers than I do for these guys, because wrestlers actually, just think about it. This is off topic, but I think you guys will find this interesting. Cody Rhodes tears his pec for real. He's already been paid money. He's told, hey, rehab, take the year off. We're going to find another guy to fight for you. It'll be fine. He says, no, the fans invested money in tickets. I got to come through. This man showed up for a fake fight with a torn pec, and you could just see the pain this guy was in. And again, wrestlers don't need to, it's not like when they win, the fans win money, or when they win, the fans are happy. Sure, the fans are happy, but it's short-lived. You have NBA players with sore quads getting paid, $10 million a game, or maybe a couple million a game, maybe $500,000 a game, and they're out for 10, 15 games. It's hard not to respect wrestlers more. They have less, way more on the line, and they don't have to do what they're doing. But then you look at these NBA players, and you got Tyler Herro just sitting there, no problem at all, while his team is according to everyone, about to get decimated in the finals. So for the people that, think I'm off my rocker, or, oh yeah, if it was rigged, this or that, again, as a lifelong wrestling fan, I had a harder time predicting WrestleMania than I did the winner of the Super Bowl, the winner of both championship games in college. Outside of Philadelphia, was really my only hard miss in the finals. I'm just saying, the stories in the NBA just seem more hand-fistedly delivered than the WWE. And keep in mind, WWE just merged with UFC, so you might want to keep your eye on them too. So yeah, I know this video is longer than usual, but I'm going to be a little busy over the next couple days, so I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to upload, so I figured I'd get everything out now. Go over tonight. I always like to recap our nights. I do that for the people that, do the hit and runs, and they're like, oh yeah, you got one right, so what? Now you can watch the playlist, and in live order since day one, we do every pick, we do every recap, and again, not to be braggadocious, but I think we have a better read than any sports handicapper out there right now. I don't see them calling these games this accurately, and it's us. It's not me, it's us. It's people telling me, hey, I found this interesting. Did you know Spoelstra said this about the game they're going into? And then, the Discord, all these different things. I said from the beginning, this is a movement. I meant it. I think people are actually starting to believe it now. Like, wow, like we're actually taking over, or not even taking over, it's a bad way to put it. We are actually having a voice, even if it's 10%, in the mainstream sports media on YouTube, which is amazing. From the analytics, I can promise you that we're sharing audiences with your Draymond Greens, with, your Stephen A. Smiths, and they know that. And they know they have a problem. Pat McAfee pointed it out. This is a big problem. It's trending everywhere on Twitter. NBA rigged, NFL rigged, and it's for a reason. So we're going to keep going into it. I'm not going to stop. We might get shut down again as I'm approaching 1,000. Fun fact, they shut me down on 1,000 on Christmas. So you could say it's a coincidence. This time I didn't apply for monetization, hoping that no human interference will get us shut down. So we're getting there again, but if I do disappear, you probably know why. But yeah, I just wanted to go over everything, and the reason I go over, a lot of things a couple times is I get so many people that are new, and they're asking me questions that, assuming it's real, which is fine. If you want to talk about the real aspect, I can certainly go into that with you. But it's for the people that just think, there's people that think I'm like a salty, a Warriors fan or something. And it's like, I don't have any stake in any of these guys. If you've been watching my channel for a week, you know that, But there's new people. I just like to let you know. And I put this out in a community post. The ultimate sign of disrespect, and I'm sure I might get it now just because I said it, that you can give me is comparing me to other channels. I will tell you this now, I am not affiliated, never want to be affiliated, and have only faced nothing but negative toxicity from these other channels. The biggest channels, the ones that had a stranglehold on the industry, I could say their names, but they fell off. You should know who they are. One looks like a pedophile, the other's a failed rapper, the other one's always going on about the government. All those guys, they all attacked me. They doxed me, hacked the Discord. My channel got shut down, then they're all putting out videos about me. And within a couple months, just by grinding and by being more honest, we ran them out of the damn sector. So when people compare me to these guys, and Zach Hubbard, that's a guy that's never given me a problem. What happens is a lot of Hubbard fans will come into my Discord and, try and, oh man, Hubbard said this and blah, blah, blah. But nothing against the guy, but I keep seeing him in my comments. I don't do things like Zach Hubbard. Okay, from what I understand, he puts out gematria for both sides, and whatever side wins, there you go. If it doesn't win, they flip the script. I've never done that. I never plan on doing that. So if you're going to compare me to these guys and put me in the circus with them, at least, give me the respect of watching a couple of my videos in order. And then you'll see, wow, this guy's not like them. And I say that because I'm proud of that. It took me so much hard work. I don't think people realize to fight against these guys. Not only them, but YouTube, who shut me down while they're freaking mass raiding my account, mocking my autism in the comments, making videos and tagging me in them, talking about boxing matches. I mean, these guys are off their rockers, and I get shut down on Christmas. So, not trying to complain, but just trying to put some perspective out there. If you're watching a lot of these other channels that they do these 2-minute videos, the magnetic rims, they know it's a hot topic algorithm, and they're not really helping you, are they? So you can compare me to them if you're new and you think, you're just one of them. That's fine. I can proudly say I want nothing to do with them. And at this point, within 6 months, instead of right now individually, we're running through them. If you compare the analytics to the subscribers, it's not even close. But we're going to collectively beat them all together within like 6 months. It's not even close. When you tell the truth, when you're genuine, when you don't go back on what you say, when you don't ask for money that you don't deserve, good things happen. That's what I've learned. So thank you all. This is more of like a thank you video because we're growing, and I didn't get to do one last time. Everyone likes to do their 1,000 thank you video. We got shut down. So I'm going to do mine a little early because we're just growing at such a rate, and there's so many entitled people out there that don't realize I'm just sitting here talking to myself like an idiot if you guys aren't watching the videos and, giving me inspiration. So thank you all. I appreciate it. To anyone that's new, I always just ask you give the channel a chance before I'm compared to Hubbard or, any of these other scoundrels. So good win tonight, guys. Early lines, I like Miami in game 2. Maybe a good time to get in early, because if they do clear Herro, you might go from +9 to +7, not get quite as good odds. But yeah, I like them in game 2. I think they go off off in the 3-point category. So take care, everybody, and happy earnings.